he's gonna keep your party, making sure the party has some minimal cleansing and make sure you have enough stun breaks and stability during fights, which is pretty much the most essential boon in fighting if you don't want to get knocked down and be stunned forever. Uh, I think besides that, I don't know if I said you would like me to say a little bit more before, or you want to.
No, like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of the most important class. Like, even if a DPS class has like 1 million damage in the arc DPS, it's still just because of the Firebrand, because it was supporting and giving stability and all the stuff for the DPS class to do the damage. So yeah, we are basically the most important class in the game right now, and that leaves us not to do many mistakes and try to have as best gameplay as we can. And we will go over a lot of stuff today. Uh, should we actually start? I guess.
Yeah, I think we have enough people. I'll give you the commander tag. Fine. Can you move yourself to party too, maybe? Oh, there we go.
Wow, Scary party too. Maybe
Yeah.
Scary wants to give the
Yeah, Scar, do you want
training.
to give the Guardian training? That's what.
Mm, w- One of my
There you go.
imposter. Sorry.
Alright. Alright, go for it, bro.
Sec. Okay. Um. So what we're gonna see today is in the beginning, I will tell you about like a few mistakes I already see while I'm doing blob fights and stuff, and I can see those things without even watching a recording or something. After that, we're gonna go through a bit of the rotation and stuff in the fight, and in the end, I'm gonna tell you some general stuff about Firebrand. Um, so let's start. What I usually see, and if someone was with Ernzilla, for example, yesterday, there were like 3 or 4 Firebrands every single time when we were like on a range spike, like way before range spike actually. They were going Tom 3 and they were just wasting the whole Tom just to use reflects in open field. Uh, that would actually lead like to what reflects 300 damage or so, and it just wastes the whole dome and probably fucks up like 10 or 15 people with the stability because the Guardian decided to go Tom 3. Um, this is one of the biggest mistakes. Like I also saw that when Pontic was leaving PvP and stuff like that, like Guardians were going way early on Tom 3, and this is a big mistake because it fucks up the rotation mostly. Because Tom 3 is a really important Tom for the whole stop rotation. Um, the second mistake I actually don't see, but I can hear it because, like, if you play with sounds, you can hear when the class is called the stand your ground, and it's pretty funny that when people get stuck, for example, in a range spike, you hear the stand your ground pops up, and that's kind of waste of the skill because, like, you have the elite mantra, which is basically your stun break. And sometimes you just feel stability with it, but most of the times it's just your stun break. Another thing for your stun your ground, it's like um, it's not breaking stun for the allies. It only breaks stuns you from the stun. So some people use it just to stun break themselves while they could just easily just press one stack of the elite mantra and break stun themselves or the allies. Like, don't waste stand your ground just to stun break yourself. It's just a waste, and that would probably lead to your allies to die in the battle. It's pretty simple. Mm, So let's go a bit over the whole rotation and what we are doing in general. I'm gonna kind of take how Ponti leads. So um, in the beginning, after then powers and stuff, usually we just move a bit forward, and we are preparing to do the range spike. When we do the range spike, usually the first thing you want to do is like 1 second before the range spike. Like usually Pondy says, for example, range spike in 3, 2. When he says the range spike, you press your shield 4 in front, so you will give protection because usually enemies will just range spike, counter range spike you back. So you have protection up and also Aegis to mitigate any damage. After you use that, you also, sorry, with the Shield 5, because it gives Aegis, it procs your trade from the fire run, which will give quickness. Quickness will help your DPS classes to do the damage faster. So it leaves less time to react on the enemies. So basically, you use on the when the range spike is called like range spike in 3. When the commander says range spike, you press Shield 4. You instantly change to staff. You're still out of combat, so you won't get the cooldown on the swap weapons. So when you instantly swap to staff, drop a symbol in the enemies, not a line. Usually commanders ask for a line, but most of the times it's a bit of waste because enemies, like if you drop the symbol here, enemies most probably won't pass that line. And like the chances that an enemy will go so forward from that spot to do the range spike, he will probably die to our range spike. So you're wasting a line usually for that. Um, so just drop your symbol to proc their Aegis or anything, and that will enable our DPS to do the whole damage. And also contribute a little bit on the damage, like, I don't know, like 200, but imagine if 10 Vibrants drop their symbol at the same time, it can like hit for 2k in total someone, so it's still some decent damage in coordination. After you use your symbol, you instantly change back to mace and use the skill 3 to mitigate any incoming range spike from the enemies. So the first rotation, I'm not sure actually what revs do with the stop in the beginning. Oh, sorry. Oh, fuck me. Actually, I forgot something. Like, before all that, like you use shield 4. When you use your shield 4, you also press elite mantra. So the rotation goes like this: shield 4, elite mantra to give one stab, and then you change to staff. Use your symbol, change back to mace, and use protector strike to mitigate any incoming damage. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Forgot the elite mantra on that. Exactly as it was linked on the chat. Shield 4, elite mantra, symbol on the enemies to proc Aegis, and then instantly mace 3 to mitigate any damage. After that, usually commanders go a bit back, guide right and left, and then they're preparing for the engager. So I can tell you exactly what you have to do because everything is like it's situational. Like after the range spike, or there won't be even a range spike, so maybe you will just go forward and clutch with your enemy. So I can't really explain you what always will happen, but like when we are engaging with enemy, let's say we did our rotation, the range spike, we went back, moved left and right, and then we are going to engage with enemy. When you engage with the enemy, uh, every time like a commander calls for a well spike, a sage spike, or any kind of spike, you always have to use your either, like if you're on mace and shield and you have any of this, or not any, if you have a shield 4 up, you use that to give Aegis, which will proc the quickness trait. If not, you always use your healing mantra for that. Like when, for example, the commander will call well spike 3 to 1, on the 3 you will give one healing mantra stack to give quickness to your allies. Because like when the scared's gonna fuel speed, actually let me post the build, sorry. The build is that. So every time you give like every time a commander asks for a spike, you always want to like press your healing mantra to give Aegis, which will proc the quickness trait. Most of the times it will be available on the spike when the spike called. So just whenever a commander calls for a spike, you just press once your healing mantra to give quickness. Um, when we are going to engage the enemy, usually we go for like well spike and bubbles. That's the time you usually want to drop your line. Like for example, if the enemy is trigger blocks, for example, and we are going this way and we're gonna clutch here, you know that the enemies are gonna cross this way. So you basically drop your line here. If we have like 10 lines in that spot, the enemies will go through that lines. Bubbles will be up, wells will be dropped. So the chance that we will get someone stuck, it's gonna be huge. Like I usually when I use my staff line inside the bubble, I usually get like 3 or 4 interrupts. That's most of the times free kill for us. So when we're engaging and the commander asks for a well spike and bubbles, you just press healing mantra, use your staff line, and then you go Tom 1 and use your pull on that spot on the back line. Usually there will be people like stuck behind or they're just slow, so just use to pull them inside the bubble. And after that you just drop the Tom 1. You don't really need it. Maybe if you have time, just use the skill 4 to tag some people if they are like under our legs or something. But usually you don't really need it. After that, there will be probably a small regroup from the commander after the push. That's a good time, like if you're on staff, to use your empower again because it will be off cooldown. Or change to maze usually because you will gonna clutch again, so just change to maze. You can use like maze 3 probably will be up still, and after that you, since you're going to engage and probably you will get engaged because enemies for example didn't use their bubbles and wells, you're gonna go in the dome. That comes the, like when I said it's a bit situational what dome you have to go. If, for example, you fight white side raids, they usually have like 10 bubbles. So if you go Tom 3 versus 10 bubbles and you just start spamming your skills, resistance, press stab, and stuff like that, usually it won't really like you won't be able to give any boon because there will be there will be bubbles up and like the boons won't come in situations like this, like when there are too many bubbles and you're getting engaged, the easier way to use to help your allies is like go Tom 2. It's the only thing that will keep them alive. Like you go Tom 2, you spam your heal, cleanse them with 5, skill 5 and skill 2, and heal them, and also stun break, turn back, for example, if they're stuck on the bubble, and use your stun break mantra to get them off the bubble. Um, After that, like that's why I said it's pretty situational. Usually you go Tom 3, the first in the beginning. Um, Wait, let me. give me 5 seconds. I will have my Tom 3 up again. Another thing is like, I mean, stand your ground. I didn't say when to use it, but yeah, basically when you're going to engage the enemy after the range spike, when you're like in 300 range, when you're like here and the enemy's trigger locks, you just press your stand your ground here and then you move with the shield and stuff. But usually commanders will also call it, so you just wait and use it at the same time. Um, so usually you go after the first engage and stuff, you go Tom 3. Have in mind that like anything, if anything happens like in the fight, like if we are getting engaged instead of engaging the enemy, and there are people dying, or you know, or you see that people will get stuck or get killed or anything, you instantly go Tom 3 or Tom 2, depends, and help them. You don't go drop your line and go Tom 1 because it's like simply a waste. You just go defensively and try to help people, but that's only when you're getting engaged. So let's say we engage with enemy, we used our bubbles, our pools and stuff lines. Then we gonna probably do the small regroup here, and then we gonna engage against the enemy. When you're against against the enemy, you're going Tom 3, usually, because stand your ground will be on cooldown, so you need to fill up the stub. So you go Tom 3. If you're near the enemy and you know that you're gonna engage again, you press your skill 5 first to have the toughness up, to have a bit of stability and protection. Um, After that, like, uh, try to use your resistance field in places that you're gonna either a bit regroup or you know that you're gonna stay a bit. Like if we are going forward to engage and you drop it here and you instantly leave, then you're not getting any value from the resistance. Yeah, yes, you will have resistance for like 1 second, but that's it. If you're like give resistance for like a bit here and that move, then you will get maximum value from it. Don't just use it or just to use the skill. Like if enemies are still far away, if for example Justin Bieber is our enemy and you use your resistance here, it's gonna be wasted because until you reach the enemy and clutch with them, you won't have any resistance up. Use it it uh, the moment you will clutch with the enemy, and then just spam thank you Trigger Lux, by the way, and then just spam a auto attack to fill up the stub, but don't just like spam it completely. Like use it every 1 second or so, so it will you'll always have stability up. After you use the whole Tom 3, usually you give like 2 resistance fields, 2 skill 5, and the rest are auto attack stability. You don't really need to use any reflect except if it's a choke fight. Have that in mind. Like when it's open field, when it's PvP and stuff like that, don't ever use reflect. Like we have a tons of core guards lately, so they can do the reflect for us. You don't need to drop it. It's like a waste of a page from your tome. You can just give stability instead. After that, the tome 3 is done. You will probably have stand your ground back again. Don't you ever like go instantly from tome 3 to tome 2 except if it's like really urgent, except if like everyone is dying, then you will go instantly. Between tomes you have to rotate in all your weapon skills, both of your weapon skills usually, and then go to the next tome. That's the biggest thing on keeping the rotation up. So if you actually do like tome 3 both weapon skills, then tome 2 then both weapon skills, and then tome 1 for a pull or something, you will usually have a tome up every time you need it. So after the tome 3, you go use your weapon skills. Usually, for example, when you have to drop a symbol, stuff symbol again, for example, try to coordinate it when there is pressure from reps or something. Don't just randomly drop the skill, so you will have to use it. Use it like when you need it. Like if you would use, for example, your line and we are not even pushing, then you just wasted a line. If you waited like 2 seconds and used it, for example, when we engage the enemy, then you will have some more value. Maybe you will get 1 or 2 people stuck in it. And if every firebrand do that, actually, you will have more people stuck, more enemies stuck in it. Like, don't waste your skills. Rotate through stuff and symbol skills and my skills, sorry. And then you go whenever you're gonna get engaged. For example, if you have Tom 1 and we are pushing, for example, go Tom 1, then go Tom 2 if we're not getting engaged or pushed or anything. Um, but if we're gonna get engaged or you wanna see the enemies coming, go Tom 2. Always have like a position not in the front line but somewhere in the middle, so you can have you have the time to actually support people. Like if you're in the front line and there is a bubble on the beaver, you won't be able to, like, you have to get back and then stun break everyone. If you're like in the middle and the bubble comes up in the beaver, you can just do 2 steps and sustain everyone. It's way more easier. Like you need to have the position to support everyone at every time. Don't be like in the front line and you have to turn back to have to see what's going on behind you, to see who got stuck or stuff like that. Where you're in the middle of the blob, you can see everything that's going on behind you. If someone asks, for example, help in the back line, you just turn and do that. If you're in the front line and you have like to, and someone asks for help in the back line, you have to like move 200 meters to go and support him. On Tom 2, you usually, same thing with resistance, try to use your water field skill 4 when there is a regroup or you know that people will stay on it a bit. If we're just moving and you drop it and you hit only the back line, then it's a bit of a wasted. Um, Along with Tom 2 and usually in the rotation, uh, because stand your ground, like after the Tom 3 usage and you use your weapons, you will probably have to use the stand your ground to keep up the stability rotation. Then you go Tom 2, but then you don't have any stability. You don't have stand your ground or you don't have any stability from the Tom 3. So that's where you want to use your hallowed ground when you're on Tom 2, so you will keep up the stability. So when you're on Tom 2, healing, cleansing people, and you see that stability from stand your ground is off, you use hallowed ground. Again, it's AoE field, so try to use it when you're gonna stand on it. Like if we are pushing, for example, or when we are, for example, in the right side and we're gonna push left side, use it in front, like on the Justin Bieber, because you will know you will push through the enemies and you're gonna regroup here. So you will know that you will stay on that place for like 5 seconds or so, or 3 seconds. So you will get some more stability and some more seconds till your stand your ground will be up. Try to use like field skills like resistance, hallowed ground, Tom 2 skill 4. Use them when you know that you're gonna regroup a bit and you will be on it for some seconds. Don't just randomly use it. After the Tom 2 is done, again you do the weapon skills rotation, stand your ground will be up again, and you're just actually rotating the whole thing. Not really. You don't really need more cleanses. Like you have scrubbers or tempest for that in every party. You just need to keep up the stability. If it's like uh, yeah, I would say about Signet also, like if it's an open tag like an PPT or something, then probably you can use Bursting Flames or Signet. But if it's like a blow up fight, a serious blow up fight, an organized BBB or something, then you really need hallowed ground, so you will keep up the stability. Same goes for the Signet of Mercy, but it's mostly for the guilds. It's not like for the open field, because like you have other you have mesmers to raise people and stuff. Having like a 90 seconds skill just to raise a single target doesn't really worth it. Um, so with the whole rotation thing, it's it's kind of what I said. Like it's very situational and always depending on the fight. So I can't really tell you exactly when to go into a dome and stuff, because maybe enemies will engage us, or maybe they will kite or anything. So, but you usually go Tom 3, except if there are like 200 bubbles on us, so you will have to go Tom 2. And always remember like to make every skill you use value. Like don't just waste your skills. Like I see for example like in a blob fight, people be on Tom 3. Enemies are on the Beaver, and there are people using the resistance here, and then we are moving, and we don't have resistance when we fight the enemy. Yes, you can use like shield of absorption, but usually you have to be inside the bubble to interrupt it. So it's a bit of a gamble. Also, yeah, I use shield of absorption. Usually you just use it, you double click it, so you will give the healing. But yeah, you can try, like if the bubble is not on you exactly, or you have the time, you can try to interrupt the bubble. But usually it won't really work. Or maybe you will get the code in the bubble, so it's a bit of a gamble. Um, thing is with these trades, like after the February uh, nerfs on Firebrand, like the healing is really low, and this is the reason why we dropped Monk Rune on Firebrand and we went for durability, because like you don't really give any big, like before the nerfs, like Tom 2 auto attack was giving 3k healing. Now it gives like nothing, less than 1k, which is pretty low. You can even heal someone like that. The biggest heal you have is from the healing from the skill 4, which is the healing field, because there are people blasting it. You can also, if you are in like the last page, you can just blast it with the stuff afterwards. So usually you don't use your auto attack on the Tom 2, except if your allies are dying and you need an instant heal, so then you use it. But usually it doesn't really worth it, not anymore. And that's why you drop the Force of Will for the Pure Voice, especially because like you have 25 seconds cooldown on the stand your stand your ground, so basically you can have a big stab every time you do a push. Any question about the rotations and stuff? But as I mean, yeah, Uh, Wait. Uh, Usually like the mantra cleansing, same as the elite mantra. You use it to get people off like bubbles and stuff like that. Because like when you're running or getting pressured and stuff, you will have scrubbers and that do the whole cleansing. So you just keep your mantra for when someone is stuck on the bubble. There is a bubble up, you always have to turn, face the bubble, and of course keep a safe distance from the bubble and just use your cleansing and stun breaks to get people off. Not really. You don't need a significant of adjustment. You don't really need any damage medication. Like if you do all your stuff and you keep a nice position and not like waste your dodges and stuff, you're immortal in Guardian. Like Guardians should be the last ones to die always. Yeah, basically is this. Usually you go after stand your ground on the first push on Tom 3, except like if you get engaged and with bubbles and stuff, so you have to go Tom 2 and use hollow ground to cover up the stability. So hallowed ground usually goes with Tom 2 always. Not always, but yeah, usually it goes with Tom 2. And try not to overlap stability. Like when you're in Tom 3 and you have stand your ground off cooldown, don't use stand your ground. Like you have Tom 3 to give stability. You can just keep it and do that like after 5 seconds and keep up the stability the whole time. As I said before, like we use durability because it gives resistance, protection, and regenerate. Well, regeneration doesn't work, but yeah, resistance and protection is pretty good. I don't know what warriors is running, but like if warriors would run also durability rules, it would actually keep up the uptime of resistance and protection from just the runes only, and would be really good. No, monk doesn't work. Same as the trait, force of will. Yeah, your healing is way nerfed right now, so you don't really need anything that gives you heal. Um, Last rotation. Nice, Gary. Thank you for reminding me. Um, every guardian should have like a staff, a focus, and a hammer every time because minstrel is the most broken stats in the game. So and the best for support, so you have to use it anyway. There's no better stats right now. Um, for the blast rotation, you use staff 2, you go focus, press 5, and then change to hammer and press 2. So it's, I'm gonna write this actually. So you use stuff 2, go focus, change to your focus, press 5, and then you go. Yeah, but that's for when you're out of combat, not in combat. Blasts will be always like before combat. If it happens in combat, then if you're on stuff, you just press stuff 2. If you're not, then you don't blast. You can't do anything about it. but the blast rotation is this. It's three blasts, so it's pretty okay. And you just rotate through three weapons and press the skills stuff 2, focus 5, and the hammer 2. And you do three blasts. It's a bit confusing in the beginning, but like if you do that a bit, you will get used to it. Uh, yeah, I mean the most smoke you can get, like the most health you can get is 15 seconds. Your stuff, uh, your weapons is always mace, shield, and stuff. You just need to have a hammer and a focus in your inventory, just in case you have to blast. Like it's good to have those weapons in your inventory for a blast. Probably most of the times you probably won't need them. It's what Trigger Lock said. Um, Anything else about rotations or questions? Yes, what Trigger Lock said. Um, since there is no questions, I'm gonna say this, like it's what I did. It's actually a little bit of story. Um, Before I joined TS, like 4 years ago, I was a completely bug and didn't even know what my trades were doing. Um, and because I had to get better, or I would get kicked from the guild, I actually tried to improve myself somehow. What I was doing to improve as a firebrand was going every day in the AB or whenever. I wasn't doing tag, even though I recommend it. But I was picking up random people and I was trying to support them during the fight. When you're not in the squad, you don't get the boons, so it's more difficult to survive. But that was actually improving my reflections and stuff. But I was picking up a target in every fight, and I was trying to support him all the way, like keep up his stab, cleanse him when he was getting stuck, like to instant stun break him. Actually, that helped me a lot. Like when you put yourself in situations like you have to take damage or like survive and support the others, it's the only way you can improve yourself. Also, like try to make every skill you drop you use to make it count. Like don't press like stuff 2 to heal up when everyone is, for example, full HP. Don't drop a line where we are not even pushing. Wait like a few seconds for a bubble to go up, for a commander to call a well spike or something. Don't drop, for example, your symbol to proc their Aegis and do that small damage. If others don't really, if your range classes don't really bomb or something. Try to make every skill that you use to make it count. And another best way to do that is like record yourself, record the fight, for example, in the reset, not in the reset because of the skill lag, but like when you go for, you join an open tag, or like when commander tags, or there is a PvP, record yourself. If you don't want to show the recording to me or to other experienced people to give you feedback, you can just do it by yourself. Like get the footage, go second by second, and watch what did you do, like watch what the enemies do, what did you press, what your allies is doing. If someone is dying, check why he's dying and think what you could do better so you will help him. Or like if the fight goes on, and like check what you pressed and maybe what you could have pressed to to contribute more. These little things would just improve you so much. And it's the only way. Like there are vibrants nowadays that actually don't know the basics and stuff, or just randomly pressing buttons and think that they are doing a lot. But actually there is no decent vibrance. Like if you could put decent vibrance in this game, you probably could count them in 2 hands. I'm not joking, and I'm not even a decent vibrant. Like it's not that easy class because you just press tab and you press buttons and support. Shut up, Scary. So just record yourself, check second by second what is happening in the fight, what did you do, check everything and fix that small mistakes, and fixing it little by little, you will just get better. If you just press your skills randomly, that will build up habits, but that's bad habits. When you start doing it correctly though, and use your skills at the time that has to be used, that is building up good habits, and then you will just do that without even thinking. And also, yes, use party view always. You don't really need to see the squad and who is in the squad. You just care about your party. I think that's it, kinda. If you have any question, just ask it. We had this conversation again. There is a big difference. Like Tom 3 has 63 seconds cooldown. So you and when you go in Tom 3, you have actually pretty much a lot of stability. If you use a trade to have like to get three more stacks of stability every 63 seconds, that's more than a minute. If you have a trade for that, does it worth to actually replace it with a passive heal, which is actually the biggest heal of the firebrand? Like if you check your healing meter, you will see that the passive, the battle presence, is healing always the most, especially if the fights are big and long. So it doesn't really worth to just take three more stacks for every like 63 seconds for something you get every time, whenever whatever the tome you are.